Having successfully launched 3 businesses, bilingual mum to 2 and entrepreneur Antonia Beauvoisin-Brown has connected with thousands of people, both French and international, since moving to the French Riviera. These connections allow her to speak to successful local businesses and inspirational people about life here on the Côte d'Azur and share it with you. Welcome to the Riviera Firefly podcast with your host, entrepreneur and my mum, Antonia Beauvoisin-Brown.
Welcome to the Riviera Firefly podcast to Colette Kent. Hi, Colette.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was just trying to think back earlier, when was the last time we actually saw each other physically, and it was in Villfranche-sur-Mer. You organised a beach clean, which was such a cool idea, and it was really fun. We ended up with a little picnic, didn't we, down on the sea?
Yeah, that's right. It was just, to get like-minded people together, do our little bit for the environment, and it was great. It was really fun. So I'm going to plan some more of those, so I'll keep you posted.
I was amazed how much, when we first got there, the beach seemed to first look fairly clean. And yet we got the bags out and started filling. How much we actually could pick up was incredible, wasn't it?
Right, isn't it amazing? And unfortunately, a lot of cigarette butts as well. But yeah, and I think other people had the same idea. It's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. But when you look a little closer, there's lots of bits of plastic, and from the storms, bits of styrofoam from boats and so on. So yeah, it was great to fill up some serious trash bags and do our little bit, and then sit and chill and have a picnic. And yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was a great way to spend a Sunday morning, I think it was. And
that's right.
And this is why we're getting together, is you're my first podcast interview here in France, because that's
okay.
what interested me. It's not as big here, I think, of people.
That's right.
As it is.
Yeah.
Where you've met you've spent some time over there, and too.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your company name and what you do.
So my company name is Elements Healing and Wellbeing. The podcast is called Elements of Ayurveda, and it's all about holistic health. And Ayurveda may be new to some people out there, but Ayurveda is actually ancient. It goes back over 5,000 years, and it's the ancient Indian healthcare system. And it's really just about aligning people to their true nature. It kind of says that none of us are alike, that each person has their own unique mind-body type. And so it's important for us to know about that and to live in tune with it. So that's in a nutshell.
Right, and I can't wait to go deeper into it. I have a really basic 101 understanding, because my mum years ago, when I was a teenager, she had a book by Deepak Chopra, and there was a quiz in the front, and you got to, and I remember answering all I remember reading about Pittas and Vata or something like that. The different types and what have you. It's so interesting. So I will have to do it again, because can it change, or does it sort of stay the same throughout your life?
No, your constitution or mind-body's type stays the same, and we each have a different ratio of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, those 3 dosha types that you mentioned. So that remains the same, but it can go in and out of balance depending on your age and climate and stress levels and what you're eating and so on.
Fab. So we're going to talk a bit later on about the philosophy of Ayurveda, the my body types that you just mentioned, and of course, more importantly, how we can use it really to prevent disease, and I guess how you help people to sort of figure out what they are and the journey that you take them on. But I want to know about you a little bit first. I can hear that you're Irish. I know that you're Irish. Tell me about your background as a child. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the southeast of Ireland in a little seaside town called Tramore, and all my family is still there. So I had a great childhood, grew up in the countryside, very beautiful time, spent a lot of time in nature, and big family, big Irish family, go figure. So, 3 sisters, 2 brothers, and like I said, they're all still in Ireland. And then I went on to college in Dublin, and then I left after college. I left in my 20s and I went to the States.
Whereabouts in the States were you?
So I spent over a decade in Boston and was there working in the financial sector in corporate America for over a decade. So yes, being in the financial sector was interesting, but unfortunately I wasn't really passionate about that job. And so I eventually found my way to my passion, but it served its purpose and I learned lots of life lessons there.
Yeah, I was exactly the same, funny enough. I was at American Express for
Oh,
about 10 years and
oh right.
corporate America as well, really. But
Yeah,
you do learn so much when you are in those structures. All the training
absolutely.
that put you on the project management, change management, soft skills,
Mhm.
presentation skills, and all that served me really well now. But yeah, being
Right.
passionate about a credit card, difficult to do. Being passionate about kids learning language, much easier. And
Right, exactly.
when did you suddenly get hooked on Ayurveda then?
So I was always interested in health and fitness. Even when I worked in the financial sector, I had side jobs in gyms and personal training. So that interest was always there. And then I discovered Ayurveda when I did my yoga training. That was in New York in early 2000s. Yoga is a sister science of Ayurveda. So as part of my yoga training, there was some focus on Ayurveda as well. So it piqued my interest then, but it was a few years before I really delved deep into it.
And what brought you over to here then, to the Côte d'Azur?
So like I said, I was over a decade in the US, wanted to come back to Europe and wanted to get into a full-time career in health and fitness. And that was hard to do in the US. It was hard to make a living in the health and fitness industry there and pay bills and so on. So I decided to come back to Europe and just do a complete switch, really just leave that corporate life behind. And then I came to France in 2008 and I started working as a personal trainer. And then I eventually opened up the yoga fitness studio in Niceport. That was called Fit Hub back in the day, which was a great spot. It was really, besides from health and fitness, it was really a hub, which is why it was called Fit Hub, for the international community here. And we used to do a lot of social events and we'd go out after class and we'd have picnics. And so it was really great. I really enjoyed it.
And I remember that. I think we were in contact even back then. But then you went to
Yeah.
America and you went back to the other side of America this time.
Well, then I went, so in 2014, I was really burnt out because not only was I teaching a lot of fitness classes and my own personal training clients, but I was also doing a lot of sports and competition myself. And I kind of had a moment where I was really burnt out and, I was questioning myself a lot. If I think what I'm doing is healthy, I think I'm eating the right foods and I have all this healthy, active lifestyle and I'm teaching it to people. But if my health wasn't in a good place, what's wrong? What am I missing? And so then started the quest for some information because I wasn't making progress in my own health and well-being, and so I needed to take some time out. That's when I ended up going to Bali and doing a cleanse, which was an Ayurvedic deep cellular cleanse, and that was a 3-week what they call panchakarma, and that's when everything changed. That's when I first learned about my mind-body type, and that I learned the foods I was eating, which I thought were very healthy, were not healthy for me. The exercise I was doing was not good for my constitution type. And it was like all these light bulb moments went off, these aha moments, and everything from there changed personally and professionally. And then I was like, this is what I need to bring into my business. This is what I need to teach people. It's so logical. It resonated with me so much. I was testing it in my own body. It worked. And that was the start. So that was 2014. And so then after the cleanse in Bali, I stayed working with that doctor in Bali for a year. So I worked in her Ayurvedic clinic. We worked closely together. And then I started studying Ayurveda as well.
You actually gave me shivers there. I love it because I love that you know, that it's like a challenge happens in your life, but you find the solution to overcome it. And then it puts you in a so different pathway in life and gives you a purpose in life. And suddenly you realize what your calling is, which is, you know, what you're here for. And then how you've sort of taken that ball and run with it with a podcast, which is an incredible way. I know you and I talked about it when we were on the beach. What a number one fun thing it is to do, podcasting.
Yes.
For you and your business, it's been huge, hasn't it? It's been the real way that you've got all your clients, been through your podcast.
Yeah, podcasting has been amazing. And because Ayurveda is relatively new, I mean, I spent the last few years in California, and it's definitely more and more coming into society, but it's still new. People are still confused by it. What does it mean? Is it woo-woo? What's it all about? Is it very spiritual? And the podcast, which is called Elements of Ayurveda, really breaks it down for the person, the absolute beginner, and I go step by step through it, and I give lots of tips and guidelines on how to live your life in alignment with your dosha. So the podcast has been amazing. It's allowed me to reach people worldwide. I have clients worldwide. All my business is online. So yeah, it's been huge.
Because that's how you work with people after, I'm guessing. It's on Zoom or Skype and things like that, like we're doing
right
now. You're talking to
exactly.
But who
yeah
is the client? What's their kind of profile?
The profile will be women, usually 40 plus, and that they're looking for something different. Either they've had lots of health challenges, or they're feeling that there has to be more to life, and that they want to find their purpose. They want to find what they're here for. So that's kind of my speciality, is helping people bring themselves into balance, which is what I did during my cleanse, so that that awareness, that intuition can come through, and you can listen to that inner guidance of what it is you're here for. Because we're essentially, we're all looking to make a difference, or to be heard, or to have purpose. And this is a path to achieving that, but it has to start with yourself first. It has to start with understanding yourself first, getting yourself into balance. Because if you're worried about pains and aches and digestive problems or whatever it is, your energy is consumed with that. So we need to start with the person first, get that person into balance, and then you can go out there. I give a lot of education, and then go out there and live your life and find what makes you tick and what you're passionate about, and go do that. Because we're each, I think, gifted with skills, and that's our purpose here, is to use those skills in the world with our personality, and go out in the world and do that, whatever it may be.
I can really see that. That resonates a lot with me, and I'm sure it will with our listeners, because I guess you're sort of at your midpoint of your life in that, in the sort of 40s. Right. Yeah. And I can feel it myself, is that one does take a moment, you take stock, you suddenly see that there's a finite end to life.
Yes.
It hits you in a way it's never done before. I was listening to Oprah Winfrey. She has a great podcast, Masterclass.
She's amazing.
Oh, she's amazing. I'd love to meet her. She has a just amazing heart as well. And I think if anyone, really wants to know a bit more, listen to her masterclasses, because she talks a lot about this, about mindset, and about figuring out why you're here, so that you can be doing the things that you want to do, you feel you need to do. Because otherwise you have that frustration inside, which I'm sure doesn't help your mental or your digestion or anything like that.
Absolutely. There, you've hit it right there. If you're not speaking your truth, if you're not in alignment with your purpose in life, it will manifest in other problems. If you're suppressing something, that it will come out in your health, whether it be physical or mental, or you just won't feel like that sense of accomplishment or happiness in life. It is that deep, that you really are here to speak your truth, whatever it may be, and to be empowered to do that.
I'll try and find some links, and I'll put it in the show notes of her podcast as well, because the great things about letting go and negativity and saying no to things I have to say no to things. Lots of people will come to me, can I do this? Can we work together on that? And there is a point where you have to say, it's a great idea, but it's not for right now.
Right.
And
Exactly. Yeah. And
because otherwise you get overwhelmed the whole time of people.
Right. And that's it. I just recorded a podcast on personal boundaries and knowing what's right for you. So when you know your mind body type and when you do that self-study, it's and you have a filter in which to put through these decisions, and it makes life a lot easier because you're like, that sounds amazing, but it's not for me. It's not in line with my values. It's not where my skill set is. And you can make decisions a lot easier. Just on Oprah Winfrey, who I also admire. She's amazing. Her work is amazing. The other podcast she has is Super Soul Sunday, where she does a lot of work with Eckhart Tolle, and that's amazing as well. So I highly recommend that for you.
It possibly was that one actually that I was listening to where she was talking about who are you? I am.
Yes.
It was in that
yes.
One, and it was really good.
Yeah, be yourself. And basically she was saying, be yourself. Yeah, that was a recent one. And it's amazing. Yeah, I was nodding the whole way through that podcast. I was like,
I was out gardening and I was like really observing nature, like looking at the sky, being in the moment with her. Yeah, we'll have to try and go and see her together sometime. I really want to see her.
Oh, I'd love to. Hopefully she'll come this way soon and we can check her out. But just that you mentioned nature there, that's a huge part with Ayurveda as well, is connecting to the natural world and being in tune with nature, which is what we've lost now in our modern world with electricity and the internet and so on, that we're so distracted that we're not syncing up to the circadian rhythms, which are the natural energies of nature. So yeah, nature is a big one. So I'm glad to hear that you're out in the garden. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
getting in touch.
It's a recent thing. I mean, I've been out in the garden for years, but it's a recent thing that I'm really trying to be a bit more mindful and live in the moment. And yes, we're podcasters, so we're online. I'm on social media as well, but I am set up a little group called Culture Club Riviera to bring people offline and meet. And we did flower arranging the other day. We're going to be doing some sculpture and pottery soon and going to an art gallery, and anyone can join. I'll put a link to that as well.
Fantastic.
As a way to connect with people and have fun and live in the moment, because I think that life is rushing by. We're busier than any generation has ever been. Multitasking and what have you. So I think, I'm trying to be more mindful. I'm certainly right at the baby steps, the beginning steps of doing it, of, wow, that butterfly is really amazing. Which might...
But that's it. But it's just, But it's just the awareness is huge. And once you have the awareness, there's kind of no going back. Then it just opens up that whole world to you, and just checking in with yourself all the time. Am I present? And having that awareness that to be present, and that we can't control the future, so there's no point in worrying about it, and the past is gone, so forget that. So try to be in the moment. That's great.
I love it. Great. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about the philosophy. Are there any other little bits you want to add in right now about that?
Well, basically, Ayurveda is like the manual to life that we never got. Most of us never got, at least, and that we should all get when we're younger. So it would help us years of, banging our heads against the wall, trying to figure out who we are, and, why is that person tall and skinny? Why can't I be like that? And why can that person learn so easy? Or, and all these little tendencies that we have. If we learned this at a young age, it would really give us more confidence and more clarity about who we are and what physically and mentally, and what our tendencies are, and how other people differ from us. So it's something that is very valuable, just learning about ourselves and just knowing what makes us tick, what doesn't work for us. It's just huge. So it's, like I said, it's a holistic approach to healing, and it's really about preventing disease in the body, disease being physical or mental, whereas the Western medical system focuses on the end result of disease or the manifestation of illness in the body. In Ayurveda, it's all about teaching somebody how to keep themselves in balance so disease never manifests in the first place. So it's been able to recognize, oh, that heartburn means I have too much heat in the body, or the constipation means that I'm too dry, there's problems with my digestive system, or the migraine, or the rash on my skin. All these are signals from your body that is out of balance, and we just need to know how to read them. So this is what I educate people on, is I tell people their unique mind-body type and say, okay, your signs of imbalance are, you might get mind spinning, you might suffer from insomnia, and so on, and whatever the tendencies are for that person's dosha. And then I say, this is what you need to do in your food and in your lifestyle and mindfulness practices in order to bring yourself back into balance before it goes down the line and manifests into something more serious.
Oh, it's so interesting. And as you're talking, I'm like, right, I need to do this with my kids, because so I did something, but I will come back to you after, and we can have a session like one-to-one. It'd be great. I'd love to do mine properly, because I think we'll talk about it in two secs, the mind and body types, but my recollection is I must be a combination of Pitta and Vata, because they're the two I remember. I didn't remember the other one, so I think
right.
And I remember then there was this whole list of foods that you should avoid and what have you. And our son Louis, I'd be interested to do him, because he hates tomatoes, and you know, my husband will still be trying to sort of get it in stews and get him to eat it. He's 17 now, but I'm more of the philosophy. I think his body is telling him, and he's listening to his body, and he's saying, I don't want to, it doesn't feel good to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, tomatoes are a nightshade. So if Louis is more Pitta, it has a higher Pitta constitution, it could cause some irritability in the skin. It could cause heartburn or acid reflux. It could cause loose stool. It could cause it could cause migraine. So tomatoes are very acidic, and therefore they will cause Pitta to rise in the body. So yes, I agree with you. His body is telling him, I don't want tomatoes, so best to avoid.
You just don't stop enough to sort of say, right, you know, that makes me feel, to analyze it, which is where you come. So tell me a little bit about the three mind-body types, because I definitely can't remember the third one. How does it, you know?
Okay, sure. So the three mind-body types are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And Ayurveda believes that everything in the natural world is made up of the 5 elements of nature. Those 5 elements being space, air, fire, water, and earth. And these 3 doshas are made up of combinations of the elements. So Ayurveda is basically saying we are nature. We're part of nature. That's why we should respect nature. That's why we should connect with nature. But I won't go off on that tangent. So Vata is comprised of, it's made up of space and air. Do you want me to explain a little bit about what the typical tendencies are? Okay. So Vata is made up of space and air. You think of space and air, obviously very light. This person tends to be a lot in the mind. They'll be either tall and lean, or small and petite. They tend to walk a lot, talk a lot. There's a lot of variability in the body, so they might have variability in digestion, where sometimes these people would forget to eat, or they might have too many teeth, like overcrowding, or maybe gaps between the teeth, or a deviated septum. There's variability there. Like I said, they're very active. They're also very creative people. They tend to be artists, dancers, musicians. And because they are very much in the mind, and they can have a tendency when they're out of balance towards mind spinning. This could lead to restlessness, indecisiveness, and they may go more towards feeling down or depressed at times. There also can be a lot of dryness in the body. The space and air, it's a wind energy which can dry out the body, so there's a lot of dryness in the skin. Dryness in the body can lead to constipation. Like I said, they might have a lot of digestive issues with excessive gas or excessive bloating. Again, lots of wind in the body because of this space and air, this wind energy in the body. So they are creative types, always moving, always on the go. They have that wind energy, but they have to be careful not to have too much movement in the body, and be careful of what they eat as well, because they need grounding. They need to bring in the opposite, grounding. Then for Pitta, A Pitta person, the elements there are fire and water. And so fire, you have intensity. In nature, they would be like, where Vata was like the wind, Pitta is like the sun's heat, very intense. It's all about transformation and conversion. And these are people who are very focused, driven, very well spoken. They may be leaders, CEOs, politicians, but they're very driven, goal oriented. And that could be to a fault sometimes because they might overwork. There might be too much intensity. Physically, they have a medium build, good muscle tone, and they have a very sharp features. So you could have sharp, really intense eyes or a sharp nose, sharp chin. They have a sharp digestion and a sharp tongue. These are the people who can make those biting remarks and you're like, ouch. and they think nothing of it because they're just like, I don't want to beat around the bush. I want to get to the point, stop messing around. Like I said, they have a strong digestion. They're constantly hungry. They will not forget to eat. But with this sun heat, with this heat energy, they can overheat sometimes, meaning that they can overheat in their emotions. They could be pretty fiery, or they could overheat in the body, meaning that the body will have excess heat, so that could result in migraines, or like I said, loose stool diarrhea, skin rashes, anything irritable, red, angry within the body or on the body. That's Pitta. Things like heartburn, anything IBS, all those inflammatory bowel disease, that's all excess heat or Pitta. So they have to be careful not to have too much intensity in spices or in work life or too much stress in life. Okay, finally Kapha. Kapha is made up of earth and water. And if you think of earth and water together, it's like a clay brick. These are solid people. They're solid in body type. They tend to have more rounder figure. They're very grounded. They're really happy-go-lucky people. They're natural carers. They just want everyone to be happy. They're the type of go with the flow people. And these people, like I said, are really easygoing, but that could be to a fault sometimes in that they may get very lethargic. So they have a tendency towards not being very motivated, could get very lazy, maybe a tendency towards being overweight or obesity. That can lead to a lot then of problems, the stagnation in the body, and a lot, like diabetes and stagnation in the digestive system, a lot of mucus, a lot of congestion. So they have to be careful because their tendency is more towards slowness and stagnation, is to have more movement in their body and to have more heat, like warming spices, more heat in their food and more activity in their day. So that's a kind of overview of the three. Like I said, we each have a different ratio of 2 or 3 of those in our birth constitution. And our constitution, or mind body type, is decided at conception. So we get it from our parents and it never changes. But like I said, it can go in and out of balance. So depending on climate, age, diet, lifestyle, it can go in and out of balance. So you might be a Vata Pitta person, but you could have a Kapha imbalance or Pitta imbalance or a Vata imbalance depending what's going on.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's really interesting as well when you're sort of describing them all, because I was like, okay, I went a bit out there early and said what I remember being slightly stronger Pitta than Vata, I think. And I just don't remember being Kapha. And then when you're reading that one out, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not that happy-go-lucky person. I'm not happy, but I'm not that easy, I can see.
Easy go to flow. You definitely have a business drive, so you must definitely have some fire, some Pitta in you, because the Pittas are very ambitious and they also spreading. So lots of different things going on, lots of projects and things in the pipeline.
My life is basically like sticks with plates on the top and I have to spin them. And interestingly that you mentioned the spices, because I really don't like strong spice. Like I'll have a really easygoing curry, but I am not interested at all in anything which fits then, doesn't it, with what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good thing. If you have high Pitta constitution, you do not want a lot of spice or you'll just bring excess heat into your body.
But that said, I know that even though I have this knowledge from a long time ago, and there will be things on that list that I'm regularly eating, and I know that I've got to be out of balance. So that's why we're definitely going to have to hook up. How do you use this to prevent disease and what have you? So talk a little bit about the foods and exercise and that kind of thing that are unique to each of these.
Okay, sure. So the first thing is to get to know your birth constitution, and you can, a stepping stone into that is doing the dosha quiz. You'll find loads online, Ayurveda dosha quiz. I have one on my website. You're welcome to download it for free. But yeah, to find out, that's the stepping stone. But I do recommend a private consultation because, you know, I do a 90-minute consultation where I really get into people's lives and ask them all the nitty-gritty. So with a Vata person, you want to know the food types that will keep them in balance, is that right? And the exercise?
Yeah, to give a couple of ideas of what the different types.
Sure. So Vata's tendency, if you have a high Vata constitution, that wind energy, there is a tendency towards dryness. So for a Vata person, they need a lot of moisture in the diet, a lot of liquids, a lot of good fats, good oils to keep the body lubricated, because their tendency is towards dry skin, dry eyes, and constipation is a big problem. They also need to have routine. Now, a Vata person loves to move, always on the go, and loves to travel. And routine is like they shudder at the thought of having a routine, but routine is key for them. So the, you know, waking times, the eating times, and sleeping times are really important to have a set routine, and particularly with eating, because Vata will forget to eat, and then that can cause anxiety in the body. And Vata has a tendency towards anxiety and stress, and that can, you know, progress into panic attacks and stuff like that. So really important to keep routine in food, lifestyle, and also in the diet, lots of moisture, lots of good fats. You want easy digestible meals because your digestive system, the Vata digestive system, is very variable, and sometimes the fire is not strong enough to digest, which can cause excessive gas and bloating and gurgling. And so easy digestible foods are really important as well. Avoiding a raw diet basically for a Vata person. For Pitta, like I said, the tendency is to overheat, and that can be caused by, you know, too many spices in the food, too much oily food, too much red wine, or too much intensity even in work or life can cause overheating. So a diet for Pitta would be, the ideal would be a less spice. And again, Pitta has a strong digestion, so they can handle, you know, raw food like salads in the summer in the middle of the day is fine, but definitely avoiding spice. And they need a medium amount of liquid, definitely avoiding anything like caffeine or too much alcohol, red wine, anything too acidic, nightshades like the tomatoes and eggplant, things like that, too much. And then for Kapha, their tendency is towards heaviness and sluggishness, so they need a little bit more warmth. So the warming spices are good for Kapha because they need more heat in the body. Their tendency for Vata and Kapha is to be cold. So warming spices actually for both Vata and Kapha are good. Kapha can even take a little bit more pungent spice, and that could be things like cayenne or chili flakes, because they need that heat to get that sluggish digestive system and sluggish, sluggish feeling in the body, circulating and moving. And they should eat things that are not too heavy, definitely avoiding comfort foods, avoiding things that cause mucus because they have a tendency towards congestion, so avoiding dairy or things that have a tendency to cause mucus in the body. And again, easy digestible, warm foods, lots of spice is good for Kapha. And you also asked me about exercise. Yeah. So for exercise, Vata, their tendency is to move. So they need to bring in the opposite, and that's a very simple principle in Ayurveda. We bring in the opposites to balance, really simple, and that's really simple philosophy for people to understand. So Vatas are constantly moving. Literally that person will be sitting there and they'll be shaking their leg because they just can't keep still. Then they need to chill out and sport a little bit more. They, like I said, they have a lean body type, so they're not looking to lose weight. They're actually probably looking to gain a little weight. So for Vata, things like yoga, like a restorative yoga, yin yoga, a slow yoga, not a power yoga, or swimming or biking, or walking on the beach. Take your shoes off, ground yourself in the sand, put your feet on the grass, but nothing too intense. Pitta's tendency with all that fire and heat is towards competition, which is what happened to me back in the day and why I burnt out. So backing off that competition, doing more sports just for the enjoyment of it. You don't have to win at everything. And watching out that you don't do too much. So swimming is great because it's cooling for Pitta. Again, walking, not power walking, which is a tendency again to be, competitive, but just enjoying the sport and more sport for enjoyment, dancing, go to classes, take the edge off, don't be competitive with your other class participants. And then Kapha, who we know is more heavier and in energy and a little slower, they could use a Vata or Pitta friend to get them up and out of the house actually. They need someone to give them a little bit of a kickstarter, and they need more activity. They need to create a sweat in the body. They need to get that blood and lymph moving. And the thing about Kaphas is they're slow to get started, but once they do, they have amazing endurance. So they can go and run and bike and hike and do all, activities with exertion would be great for them.
Well done. Yeah, thank you. What a great roundup. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone that knows me will be going, yeah, but Antonia, you're not a lean machine. But that's because I haven't had things in balance for 10 years. I've been working and doing family, and I wasn't looking after myself.
Right. And yeah, that's it. You could have an imbalance right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was the wake up moment where I just was like, I need to now actually look after myself, because otherwise I can't look after everyone else around me.
Yeah, you're the hub, and especially for parents, you're the hub of the family. And if you're not feeling in balance and feeling good and have clarity, everything else is going to be affected.
And when you were saying about competitiveness, that resonates as well, because for me, sport, going to a gym is the most boring thing I could think of to do. Running on a treadmill. I used to love playing hockey. It was all competitive sports, right?
Right.
I even used to play it a bit here, but it was difficult to get to, 8 o'clock at night or something. It was not good. And dance class was really fun. We do that now with the team on a Friday. One of the team is a dance instructor, and so she'll do it with us. And yoga,
brilliant.
That with Faye. She does the Scaravelli method, Faye Villalba. I'll put a link to her as well. She does it all around Valbonne and Roquefort, and it's the perfect thing. And I've been doing it since September, getting so much benefit from her.
That's true. Oh yeah, yoga and mindfulness. Yeah, meditation. I prescribe all that in my consultations: breath work, mindfulness, meditation. It's huge, and it's so important nowadays because we're so fired up and our nervous system is so activated.
Oh, I know. And I've got a new book for your daily schedule. I just bought it as a treat for myself, what today's plan is, but it does say in there, what are you eating? You have to write in it what you're eating, what you're drinking, and what you're doing for yourself, for exercise, for mindfulness. So it's hopefully going to be a reminder for me to get a bit more in balance.
Yeah, and daily habits are huge. I have an online daily habits course just for that purpose, like the holistic health. It's really important to have those healthy habits, which are just like brushing your teeth. They're simple things that are in tune with the circadian rhythms, those energy cycles to keep you in balance. And yeah, really important to have those. They're just day-to-day part of your day to really keep your mind and body in balance.
There's a book that I'm just about to buy called Atomic something. Have you heard of it? It's to do with routines and building things into your life. The real, it's apparently excellent. So it's a business booky thing. So I'm going to read that and do something. So tell me about, how does a consultation work? So someone's listened to your podcast, they've downloaded the dosha quiz, and they go, yeah, okay, I'm out of balance. So, here I am, your client. What would you be telling me? How does a session go? Okay, so yeah, they book online. I have a 90-minute consult. We either do it, Zoom, Skype, whatever. And basically I start with giving them paperwork to fill out.
And I asked them lots of questions. First of all, is to determine their birth constitution. So I asked them lots of questions about how they've been throughout their life, in sleep, in elimination. We talk a lot about bowel movements as a big indicator of what's going on with your health. We talk about how your mind is, your stress levels, what were your tendencies and sicknesses as a child. So lots of questions about when they were growing up. And then we talk about the current situation, present moment, to see if they have a current imbalance. And then with all that information, I determine their mind-body type. I explain to them what that means, what it means to be a Pitta, Vata, or whatever it is, what it means, what your tendencies are. So when you're out of balance, this is what it looks like. And then when you get these symptoms, whether it's heartburn or loose stool or whatever it is, migraines, then I want you to focus on eating these foods, focus on these activities and foods, and then I want you to limit these foods and these activities. Ayurveda is not about being strict. I'm all about 80-20 lifestyle. 80% you have a good routine, you have good habits, you're eating healthy, and 20% you go out and you enjoy the food, and wine is a great pleasure in life and you enjoy it. And I think it's really important also not to be super strict. I think being too rigid can cause stress and inflammation in the body as well. So I'm all about, you should be able to eat everything in moderation, but have the awareness like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling, that my digestion is off, or I'm feeling really sluggish, or I have, excessive gas or bloating, or again, whatever your symptom is. After this consultation, you will know exactly what the problem is and then how to bring it back into balance. So it's really about empowering people, giving them the education and empowering them to become their own, their own healers, to really take charge of their own health rather than reaching for a paracetamol or ibuprofen. It's about going, oh, okay, I just need to bring in this spice, or I just need to take some time out and do some meditation, or I need to, eat this type of food and avoid these things. So again, it's about using nature to heal you and really understanding your body and what the signals are, what they mean, and then you'll have the tools of exactly what types of lifestyle, what type of food, what type of spices are going to help you out.
So good, Colette. I'm so happy.
But the thing I love about it is logical.
I know.
What I love about it is logical. You're not selling any supplements. You're not selling anything in a packet. It's just really logical. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on with me, or that's me, and that's what I love about it. It's just logical, and it's just about tuning into nature.
It's so interesting, and it's funny as you're talking about childhood things. Like I remember when I was a little girl eating eggs, like a boiled egg, and I hated them, and but I'd have to eat them because those were the rules, right? You ate what was put in front of you. And I remember I used to take a mouthful and then take a glass of water and swallow it down because I just hated them. And I had there was a blood test done about a year ago, and funnily enough, I can't remember off the top of my head now if it's the white or the yolk, but I have an intolerance to one of those. So okay, that's interesting. So in my childhood, my body naturally sensed it didn't feel good.
Exactly. And the egg yolk, I mean, in Ayurveda we usually use whole foods, but this is one example where they don't, that the egg yolk is heating, and it may have been too heating for your Pitta, for your Pitta constitution, because it adds heat to the body, and you already have that Pitta in your constitution, you already run hot, so this will just add extra heat. So your body, you have that intuition already there. The body's amazing.
I, obviously didn't listen to it, and it wasn't until last year when I went to a great GP, and I just was like, I cannot, I was like burnout basically.
Yeah.
And so we ran all these tests to check, what my levels of vitamin D and everything were, and intolerance, and that was one of the many things that she found I was intolerant to. So it's very difficult though, still, even though I know all that information, it's still very difficult to then organize your meal plan, particularly if, say, I'm one thing and then someone else in your family is something else. Plus I'm vegetarian, which adds a whole, into it. It is tricky.
Well, the thing is in Ayurveda, it's not about eating a specific meal plan. It's only when you only go to certain foods when you're out of balance. The ideal is that you don't go out of balance, and then you can enjoy all foods in moderation. And but you know your trigger foods. You know that, oh, okay, if I have that spicy meal tonight, I'm going to be suffering tomorrow, but I know tomorrow that, okay, I'm going to raise my pitta tonight with that spicy meal, but tomorrow I'm going to bring in some balancing foods and activities that are going to bring that pitta threshold down. So it's just about understanding you on a deep level, and it's not about having a specific diet or routine or being rigid not at all.
Well, it's very, very interesting. So I will get in contact with you. Well,
Great, I look forward to it.
Really interesting. Tell me a little bit about Côte d'Azur and how you like to spend your time on the Côte d'Azur. Are you more a mountain or a seagull?
Sea. I live in Villfranche and I love it. I love this little village and definitely the sea. I do a lot of swimming. I work out down by the beach daily, and the sea is definitely connected to it.
It really is living the dream where you are. That's just gorgeous, that town and that beach walk, and it's so lovely down there.
It's a special energy here in Villfranche. Really, it's a beautiful little village and a working village. But it's a lovely little community.
Yeah, it's bustly even in the winter. It's not somewhere that.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have a car, so it's perfect for you. You sort of hang around there all the time.
I hang around here. I have a scooter, and I really now love the simple life. Like I lived in Boston in my 20s in city, working downtown, and the past few years I was just north of San Diego, in a little surf town called Encinitas. And gradually the way where I live, they're getting smaller and smaller, but it's great. Nice is not so far away, but I go into Nice and I'm literally, waiting to get back to the village. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a lot of energy. It's pretty hectic. And I love it, but there's only a certain amount of time I can hang out there before I'm running back to the village. So I do like a simple life.
I think I do now. Maybe that's an age thing, but I think it's also being downhill. So where we live in Barcelona, beautiful countryside, the hills, the mountains, and it's so good for the soul. It's particularly after you've got a busy day. When I was in San Diego today, and I love San Diego, really vibrant and cool, and I loved all the sort of industrial look and that kind of stuff. But I was looking out of the place I was staying, the Airbnb, and it's just a concrete jungle. There's no greenery that I'm used to. Even looking out of my window here, loads of trees.
Right. Yeah, no, it is. It's such, the cities, there's very few. They do have beautiful parks in San Diego, Balboa Park, but they're, in the city center, it's very built up. I lived 20 miles north of there, which was much more of a seaside community. But it's so important to have that connection to nature. It really, really is. And we feel it too when we're out in nature. When we spend time, like I used to bike up a lot up by your area, and I used to do a lot of road biking. You feel it when you spend time in nature. There's that connection. It's this real connection to source, and it just makes us feel alive and amazing. So it's really important to have that connection daily. If you can take your lunch outside, you can take a meeting outside, try as much as you can to get that connection.
Well, I think I will do just that with my lunch today. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Are you more a book or a podcast person?
Podcasts. I'm addicted to podcasts. My phone is like just all the data is used up, all the space is used up for podcasts. I do love books though. I do love books as well, but podcasts is.
Have you got any recommendations for either of those?
Well, podcasts, I love Oprah's podcast, and she just did a series with Eckhart Tolle, and I was just reading his book, A New Earth, which I highly, highly recommend. It's all about being more present and, establishing self and getting rid of or challenging the ego at least. With Eckhart Tolle, the book, and then himself and Oprah did the first 10 weeks of the year podcast covering a chapter each week. That was amazing. I listened to a lot of to do with my work. So a lot of holistic health podcasts, organic living podcasts, things like that. And then some other work ones. But I think Oprah is definitely one of the best.
And that's a great Sunday one for me. I find that I listen to different podcasts at different styles at different times of day.
Yes.
So like Friday night, I might like to have a comedy one. And Sunday, I love Oprah, out in the garden, like to get out there or whatever and be doing something, because then she just gives you these golden nuggets that are like, and then I might listen to businessy ones. I kind of, in the car on the way to work is when I'll listen to them, because that gets you fired up for your day then, and you're like, right, yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah, you have to be, I'm like that too. You have to be in a certain mood for what do I want today. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so, and the book is A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle. That's an amazing book. Yeah.
And I'll put that in the show notes, because I have been listening to some of her, chapter. They discuss different chapters. It's really good. How can people get in touch with you, Colette?
Well, they can get in touch with me through my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And I also have the podcast, which they can find, Elements of Ayurveda. That's AYURVEDA. And that's how they can get in touch with me. And I do the consultations online. I also do this, and I have the online course, The Habits. I also have a retreat coming up here in Villfranche. If anyone's local wants to attend, it's a yoga and Ayurveda retreat, October 11th to the 13th, right here in Villfranche. So that's going to be going over a lot of the basics of Ayurveda, holistic approach to it, and then we'll do yoga as well. So if you're looking for something to do in October, some holistic health.
I'll put that in the show notes, as well as your Facebook, Instagram and everything like that. We'll put all that in so that people can connect with you.
I appreciate that.
Well,
thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I really look forward to catching up with you again soon, maybe doing a beach clean. Do you post that in
I'm going to organize one in the next couple of weeks before it starts getting busy.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, but tours, It's been such a pleasure, Antonia. Thank you so much for having me. I loved our chats.
The Riviera Firefly podcast appreciates every contributor and listener. Your comments, likes and shares make us really happy and inspire us to keep doing the shows. Come join us in our free community groups on Facebook, Côte d'Azur Living, for all things south of France, and for those running a business, you need to join the Riviera Firefly Business Cocoon. It's totally free. The costs of producing and hosting this podcast are funded by Kidduland. Nicknamed by their clients the Little English School, they organise fun activities all in English for 0 to 16-year-olds, from baby clubs and playgroups to English lessons and holiday camps. They even hold workshops for adults too, right here on the Côte d'Azur. You can find out more about Kidduland directly on their website, www.kidduland.com. So thanks for listening. Please do pay it forward and share an episode so we can spread the Côte d'Azur love. Until next time, Fireflies, au revoir!